The aviation industry is targeting net zero by 2050. What does this mean, and what role does sustainable aviation fuel play in this target?
In effect, the airline industry's net zero 2050 commitment is representative of its understanding that for every unit of carbon it emits, an equivalent amount will have to be saved. Now, this is going to come through a range of different mechanisms, including the renewal of fleet, potentially the leveraging of new technology like hydrogen and electric propulsion aircraft, as well as a range of different operational efficiencies. But ultimately, it's quite universally recognised across the airline industry that 65% of its carbon savings is going to come from the production and utilisation of sustainable aviation fuel, which is effectively an alternative non-fossil fuel that is going to be drop-in, compatible with existing aircraft and refuelling infrastructure, and is made from a range of different feedstocks or inputs that are typically waste-based or coming from the regeneration of crops on degraded or marginal land. In other words, this is a circular fuel that is not only able to be delivered into the existing aircraft infrastructure, but is coming from things across society and ecosystems that we don't generally value. So you're turning something of low intrinsic value to the population and the planet into something very useful, namely in the form of renewable circular fuel.
Most of the sustainable aviation fuel being produced today is based on used cooking oil and similar feedstocks. What is LanzaJet's feedstock and process?
That's correct. So currently the predominant feedstock being utilised for sustainable aviation fuel are those coming from bio-oils. So typically we understand those to be used cooking oil, inedible animal fats and tallow, industrial greases. These are important first step feedstocks. But when we extrapolate out to 2050, we see the threshold capping out at about 10% of the industry's needs for SAF volume. As a consequence, we have to look to some of the next-in-kind technologies like LanzaJet's alcohol-to-jet, which is able to leverage a range of other feedstocks of non-oil base. Now, for us, we use an ethanol intermediary, which is important because ethanol can be made from a whole host of different feedstocks. At the moment, we look into a range of different wastes and byproducts coming from food production, as well as agricultural wastes, forestry residues, municipal solid waste and landfill, as well as also regenerative cover crops. On the flip side though, we can also, as technology and availability of renewable energy takes place, seek to capture carbon directly from the atmosphere and combine this with renewable electricity and green hydrogen to create our intermediary of ethanol and produce it into sustainable aviation fuel. In other words, at LanzaJet, we've got an extremely diverse feedstock platform which can target wastes causing environmental and societal problems in different parts of the world, turning these into our ethanol and ultimately sustainable aviation fuel.
LanzaJet is developing its first sustainable aviation fuel refinery in Freedom Pines, Georgia, USA. How's that development going? When do you plan to start delivering sustainable aviation fuels?
Our Freedom Pines Fuels facility is based in the town of Sopperton in Georgia, United States. And importantly, this is the first ever alcohol-to-jet facility that's been built at commercial scale for the industry. And it is fully committed to a range of different off-takers across the airline industry. And we're looking forward to be delivering volume across 2025. Now, beyond that, we've also got our second commercial scale facility, which we've announced within Teesside in the north of the United Kingdom. And beyond that, we're happy to share that we've got a project pipeline of over 100 different facilities in all parts of the world. Once again, leveraging our flexible feedstock platform in order to target environmental problems and societal issues which we can seek to work backwards from and create a fuel solution around.
Thanks, Daniel. And finally, what do you hope to get from your participation at Connect?
It'll be about engaging with the breadth of the aviation stakeholder community and engaging in discussions that demonstrate that sustainability and growth are not necessarily paradoxical terms, but that there are meaningful levers that we can all take to ensure that we can grow in a manner that suits both the current and future generations.